Julie went on trips when they were like 7 weeks long. You're the light ones going like 4 weeks right now, 5 weeks, right? So Julie's been on those trips before. Her and all of her sisters all went on them. Almost, or just one? Anyways. But then the Lord led her into a lot of different directions through the years, and I'll let her share a little bit of her story. She has been in Africa now for quite a while, and so it is a blessing to have her here. Our church now has been supporting her for the last numbers of years, along with a native missionary
that God loved her and that salvation was available for anybody else who wanted it, and that there was freedom and joy in that. And it's so beautiful to see the Holy Spirit begin to touch people's lives and move in that direction. Like I said, we've had many opportunities to meet with tribal leaders and chiefs, and in Congo, all of the chiefs, there's often witchcraft, there's ceremonies that happen. Congo is known for some chiefs that offer human sacrifices to get into positions of power, stay in positions of power, so it's not uncommon. Not every single chief does this, but we had if you saw the picture of the lake with the boat and stuff, we went into this new area and met with some chiefs, and we were sitting down, and we were just going to invite them to participate with the chaplaincy program. They'd never met us before. We were new to the area, and it's very far away from where we normally work. And Congo is a massive country, and so they knew much about us. And we sat down, we just started briefly introducing things, and one of the chiefs, he's like a senior chief, so he's over other chiefs, and he's like, I am a Christian. He's like, but I did participate with witchcraft and ceremonies when I took on this position as a chief. And he's like, I don't know how to be a chief without participating in these ceremonies. Will you teach me how to be a chief who is also a man of God? Again, it's like, you can't, for us to be younger than him, for us to come from a different culture, it is like absolutely unheard of for a chief to ask anyone who's younger or different from them for help, let alone to be a tribal leader. And so here we have people who have no idea who we are, but the Spirit of God has gone before us and humbled his heart. And here he is. Will you come back and teach me what it means to be a man of God and to be a tribal leader? And the other people at the table are like looking at him, but we're just like, absolutely, we're coming back. And so praise God for just more and more of these opportunities and some of the testimonies that we have. Like I said, as a team, we started something last year with a theology training. So you saw our team, which is about seven full-time missionaries who are on salary, and then we have a couple extras. We have 9 right now that are on full-time salary with us, and they finished just a foundational theology program, which is amazing. But like I said, we'll go to some of these churches and we'll visit various denominations. Some of them are okay. They have pretty good theology that we could probably agree on. And some of them, like I said, are just absolutely insane. And we have 3 different locations right now where we have 15 pastors or church leaders and some of their wives that have asked to go through this theology training. And so on one hand, you have such crazy doctrine that people are in bondage under, and then on the other hand, you have 45 leaders who have chosen. There's not Bible college, there's not seminary, there's not online classes that are available for them, and yet they're hungry to know the Word of God, they're hungry to grow. And again, you're having these men and women who are quite a bit older than us, who have been leaders for years, and for them to humble themselves and say, we want to know more about the Word of God, teach us, grow us, learn together is just absolutely amazing. So the region of Congo that we live in is known for mining, and it's known for really sketchy mining practices. It's known for human rights violations, and there's a lot of child labor, and there's a lot of young children here, so we're not going to go into details, but you can imagine that they are not treated well, that there is injustice, that there are violence against them. And so you have these kids that are no longer in school, they're working in the mines. If they die, doesn't matter. If they're hurt, it doesn't matter. It's just, the value of life is just so crazy. And the illegal practices for those who are in leadership over the mine and the people who are actually working, a whole other thing. But we've seen this for so many years where these kids are getting taken advantage of, and just like the heaviness and praying over it, like, Lord, what can we do about this? And we've seen that kids ministry has just absolutely exploded in many different locations. We have 21 volunteers and 3 in the presence of God with intimacy and knowing the heart of the Father, it didn't move him to a life of complacency. He was motivated, and he was a mighty warrior, and he fought for the kingdom of God, and but he was somebody who lingered in that presence of the Lord, who lingered and wouldn't move unless he had been fully saturated by the heart of the Father. And as we spend time in that secret place, we are changed because he's the one that gives us courage and boldness. He's the one who gives us the ability to walk into these kinds of situations. And our confidence and our faith grows because we have a foundation of knowing the nature and the character of God. We know that he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We know that his word is true. We know that as we grab hold of his promises, we can contend and intercede over the situations because we know who we are as children of God. This is our portion. This is our right. This is our opportunity to stand and walk by faith and call into existence the things that don't exist. I love the faith of Abraham in Romans chapter 4, where it says that, so Abraham, obviously, it's talking about the promise of God that came to him regarding that he would be the father of many nations. And in verse 17 it says, "As it is written, I have made you the father of many nations, in the presence of God in whom he believed, who gives life to the dead and calls into existence the things that do not exist. In hope Abraham, he believed against hope that he would become the father of many nations as he had been told. So he did not weaken in faith when he considered his own body, which was as good as dead, since he was about 100 years old, or considered the barrenness of Sarah's womb. No unbelief made him waver concerning the promise of God, but he grew strong in his faith as he gave glory to God, fully convinced that God was able to do what he had promised." And I love this example, and there's so many opportunities in our lives to look at a situation and be able to say, like, I don't know what else to do. And there's examples in the Old Testament where, people are faced with impossible situations and battles and nations and wars coming against them, and yet God told the people, keep your eyes fixed on me and send the worship leaders first, which is crazy. Like, I can't imagine being a worship leader and being like, hey guys, guess what? You're living the truth today. But the thing is, as we come into agreement with who God is, as we glorify him, as we give him honor and glory and praise, we say and we know his character and his nature. And that's one of the things that our team has been able to do. Thank you, God. I know that you are a God of peace. I know that you're a God of justice. I know that your will is for these people to know your heart, to come into salvation. I know that your heart is for reconciliation. I know that you desire that there is justice in the land, that the vulnerable and the oppressed would no longer be taken advantage of. And so we begin to pray and contend in this kind of confidence and say, thank you, God, that we will see you in the land of the living. Thank you, God, that you are light in the darkness. Thank you, God, that you bring your hope. Thank you, God, that we carry the fullness of Christ. God, I don't know what to do, but all I know is that I am a child of God. And Romans 8 says that the same Spirit that raised Jesus Christ from the dead is living in every single believer. And so if I'm a child of God, I'm going to walk into these situations. I'm going to wait for the voice of God, and I'm going to walk in accordance to his leading. And as we take our eyes off of ourselves and the circumstances and fix our eyes on him, he gives us just a supernatural courage and boldness that we will be overcomers. And one of the things that we've seen is as we're going into these locations, there's no earthly idea why we have favor. There's nothing to explain it, except that the Lord goes before us and he softens people's hearts. And one new opportunity that we have coming up this next year is going to this area that's next to the lake. It's called Kalemi. And in that area, there's actually a lot of conflict. And in that area, we met a senior chief who's over thousands and thousands of other people and multiple other chiefs. And he invited us in and he said, you know what? I have 2,000 people sitting outside my front yard who have fled conflict. And again, some of the stories and the things that they told us can't be repeated because they're such small children. with the fullness of the gospel, to see not only their spiritual life transformed, their emotional and physical life as well. And when that happens, we see broken relationships fixed. We see people turning away from witchcraft and trusting God alone for their healing and provision and protection. And and so our joy is to be able to, moving forward, say, we're coming and we carry Christ in us, the hope of glory. And yet, all that being said, our team is pretty small, and the nation of Congo is massive, and there's 100 million people. And so, in nights like tonight, we just want to give the invitation that, you know what, we need extra people to join our team. We just do. We need people who are willing to give, to pray, to come, whether it's a short-term team or whether join our team long-term. And just to say, like, God, we see what you're doing in these nations. We know that your heart is for people to hear your gospel and for their lives to be touched and redeemed by God's love. And we want to follow in the example of Jesus. And, you know, he came on this earth with a very specific mandate and purpose. And, you know, he said that he was going to do the will of his Father. And the last verse that I just want to leave with you as an encouragement tonight is from John chapter 14. And this is Jesus talking to his disciples in verse 12. And it says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever believes in me will also do the works that I do. And greater works than these will he do, because I am going back to the Father. Whatever you ask in my name, this I will do, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask me anything in my name, I will do it." And that's really my prayer for each one of us here, that we grab a hold of that and just understand the Father's heart, whether you end up joining us in Congo, which would be amazing, and I'm not biased at all. I would love to have you on our team. But also for the situations and the people and the opportunities that the Lord is giving you, that you would move in just this holy confidence of like, I know that I am nothing except saved by grace, and I know that it is only because of Christ working in me. But the confidence to know that he has placed me in this situation and he has given me his spirit, and as I move, he is going to reveal himself to people who are living in a lost and broken world. So, yeah, thank you guys.
Julie says she has a background in the medical field. She was a paramedic and a midwife. And how have you used that specifically to be an open doorway to your ministry there? And if anybody has a question you'd like to ask, I can bring the mic around as she's answering this. So let me know if you have a question you'd like to ask Julie for a couple minutes.
I lived in Zambia for a bit before transferring up to Congo, and there was an opportunity to volunteer at a clinic that was in one of the villages that was close to us. And oftentimes there's a lot of, don't worry, I'm not going to go to all the details, but there's a lot of like fear and insecurity associated with childbirth. And so sometimes, because there's not a lot of access to great health care, the grandmas, the aunties, the friends would encourage the moms to go and get a special charm for protection or to keep the baby safe or whatever. But like, it's essentially witchcraft, because you're making a deal with Satan for your special protection. And there were several times that even in the middle of like childbirth, women are manifesting demons, and their kids would be born, and like everybody's having seizures and everybody's not breathing, and it's just chaos. And you know, like childbirth isn't fun enough anyway to throw in a couple more things. But and some of these situations was just like, I knew that we were in such a spiritual moment, even though it was a very physical expression of what was happening, and just to be able to pray over the mom and the baby, and to know that, like, you know, there was a whole situation where the conception of this baby did not come through love. It was through trauma. It was through assault, and yet as the mother is giving birth, there was just so much chaos that was happening, and the baby didn't breathe for 8 minutes, and everybody thought he was dead. And I was like, I know that this is a spiritual matter because of some of the things that had been going on. And I prayed over this baby, and the Lord brought life back to him. Like I said, there's no running water, there's no electricity, there's not fancy things. It is just the Lord that came and touched that baby's life. And then when they asked me later to name the baby, I was like, I'm going to give him the name Jonathan, because it means a gift from God. Because I don't think she thought of her child as being a gift from God because of all of the circumstances that were going on there. And then later we went out she wasn't from that specific village. She was from a couple hours away. So I followed up with her and shared with her and her family. She was very young, and shared the story of when Jonathan was born. And her dad was like, "Oh, we heard that he didn't cry." And I was like, "Well, he wasn't breathing either." And I just shared, like the same God that created the universe saw Jonathan in that moment and brought life back to him. And was able to share salvation with their family and just the love of God. And they all chose salvation in that day, and they, not only her, but the other people cut off charms and burned them, and she dedicated her baby to the Lord. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, yes, it was a very physical situation that needed intervention, and yet the Lord saw that child's life and what the enemy had tried to do to kill, steal, and destroy his life and the life of his mother and the peace and the joy that should be hers. And yet the Lord intervened in that scenario to let me and the team be able to share the gospel, and not just the gospel, but that they would be so impacted by it that they would choose to, even her extended family would choose to choose salvation and choose to follow in the ways of the Lord. And so some days it's very normal, and some days it's a little bit crazy. You don't really know what's going to jump out and get you.
How many babies have you helped deliver in your time in Africa? Do you have any idea?
So I lived in the Philippines for a couple years before that. So altogether, it's like 700 something that I've either helped or assisted. Yeah. So a couple.
Anybody have a question you'd like to ask Julie about her ministry in Africa? Yeah.
Hi, I probably should know since we've been sponsoring you for a while, but is all your ministry in English, or are you learning a language there? Do you have translators?
Yes. So in Congo, one of the primary languages is French, but then they have 243 tribal languages. So our ministry is, when we started in Congo, none of our team spoke English. So our French got translated into Swahili, and then as we go out to further villages, it gets translated to another language. Now we do have a couple people on our team who can speak broken English, and then there's one guy that joined us just like a year ago, and he went to university in Zimbabwe and knows English, French, and Swahili. So we love Mike. He's amazing to help for some of those things. Yeah.
And what do you speak?
I know a little bit of French and a little bit of Swahili and a little bit of a language from Zambia, but mostly French.
Another question, anyone? Okay.
The government of Congo, how much rule do they have over these independent villages, and how hard is it to get the gospel and Bible spread on these villages? Is it restricted to individual villages, or does the federal government have much?
So it's kind of a trick question, like how much control does the government influence our ability to move into certain locations? So they have control over our visas, and that is the biggest complication that the big government has. Once we get all of that sorted out, it's mostly as long as immigration is okay, then we go and meet with a tribal leader and we introduce ourselves. And sometimes that is word of mouth between tribal leaders. And once we get the big chief permission, because we want to respect him and honor his authority. Actually, no chief has ever told us that we can't do ministry, but we just, somehow by God's grace, he's given us favor. And so once we get the big chief over a huge area to give us permission, then we go to the smaller, like a community head leader. Some of them are men, some of them are women. And then we meet with them and say hey, Chief Pimpamoto gave us permission. We just want to greet you. And is it okay and if they refuse, nobody has refused that. But if they refuse, then we can be hey, let's talk to Chief Pimpamoto because he likes us and he lets us work in this, and this area. Or they'll call the chief on the phone because there's a lot of respect for the tribal leader above them. So, yeah. But there was one scenario where we had gotten the permission from the chief, from the tribal community, and then there was another low-level government leader who didn't actually have the authority that they thought that they had, but they came in and gave us a really hard time, and yeah, but the Lord sorted them out eventually, so yeah.
Any other question for Julie?
Yeah, I have invited Sean, I think every time I see him, to bring a team, but that's okay. We would love to have a short-term team. Generally, it's about 2 weeks long. If you get a larger team together and you want to stay for longer than 2 weeks, we can do a special arrangement. We have staff from our big overland team who are part of the expeditions or evangelism department, and so they would do a lot of the prep work for like the discipleship and the encouragement going before you get there. And then once we're on the ground, because of just kind of the nuances of paperwork and visas and that sort of thing and language, they would join with our full-time Congo team on the ground. And then you saw some pictures of like tent camping and that sort of thing. So we go out to a rural village, we camp in tents, and we go and do house-to-house evangelism every night. So you don't have to be in perfect shape, you just have to be in good enough shape to sleep on the ground and occasionally use creative facilities when you have to go to the bathroom. So, and you're willing to like cook meals that are cooked on, or eat meals that are cooked on the open fire, and yeah, but it's amazing. We'd love to have you guys come.
Do most of the villages you go to not have electricity and running water then?
Even many of the cities don't have electricity and running water, so yes.
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay.
Anyone else have a question, or do you have any other story for us? What's the craziest thing you ate last year?
Not last year, but a couple years ago, I had like rat's legs. It was from like the bush, so not like sewage rats from the bush. Yeah. And then somebody else like, but if you put enough like hot sauce on it, it's not too bad. And then somebody else, they caught like, you know, like Princess Bride, like the ROUS. It's like a massive creature, but they caught it. I don't know what it was. It's like a vole or ROUS or something. And they like caught that on the side of the road and barbecued that up. So I tried a tiny bite of that.
How was
it? Wasn't that good.
No. Is there any meat on a rat's leg?
No, there is not.
So you had a rat's bone.
It's like tendon and sinew, and it was gross.
And you live right now in Congo in what city?
We live in Kolwezi, so if you look at the map, it's on like the south central kind of west side.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you go all over.
We go as far as we can go. So like we're at the end of the tar road in the southern part. Fun fact, on less than 2% of the roads in Congo are paved. So it's either a dirt road, 4x4 road, motorcycles, or during rainy season. Like one of the pictures that you saw, like that was after 2 rains. Like when the Land Cruiser was going through that was 2 rains, and then that was the beginning of rainy season, which lasts for like 5 months. So there are some places that flood and we can't get to. But it is a great adventure, if you love adventure.
Julie, you'll see pictures of her sometimes in mud like up to here.
That has happened more than once, yes.
How can we pray for you as you go back? When do you go back?
The goal is like the end of March, beginning of April. Prayer requests? Yes. Yeah, you can just continue to pray for us as we go into new locations. Just for soft hearts, like obviously we know that the Word of God is so powerful, but if that seed falls on hard ground, it doesn't always bear fruit quickly, or it doesn't bear fruit at all. So just you could pray for favor with community leaders, and just for soft hearts to hear the gospel. You can pray for additional people to join our team, and just wisdom as we move into some new ministry opportunities that we haven't been in before, just that the Lord would give us wisdom. Like I said, there's one group where there's over 2,000 people who have fled conflict. We've been invited through to minister to them. They have a lot of physical needs as well as emotional and spiritual needs, but just wisdom to navigate that with just the wisdom of the Lord for all those things, yeah.
And on your team, how many people are either from America or Europe, or versus how many of them are from Congo?
Yeah, so in our Congo team, there's 2 Americans, there's 5 Zambians, and 9 Congolese on like full time, and then we have probably 30 or 40 volunteer staff that we work with. In our big overland team all over the world, there's a lot from Canada, the US, various parts of Europe, South Africa, Brazil, Cambodia, all sorts of fun places.
And
Yep.
EBF started supporting a Congolese missionary. Can you tell us anything about
Yes.
them?
So we have Fulgence Makanga. His family was one of the first that when the first overland missionaries got into Congo and ended up in this one specific village, they were not greeted with hospitality. It was actually kind of a chaotic situation. And Fulgence's father is a kind of like an associate pastor, and he heard that they had this crazy situation, and so he opened up his home. They have 12 kids. Fulgence is like the second or third, I think, and they opened up their home and invited us to stay with them, and so that's one of the first times that we had relationship with his family, and they've been amazing since then. Fulgence he went to school to be an electrician. He grew up as the son of a farmer, so he obviously spent a lot of time in the fields and working and doing a lot of things, but after going to school to try and be an electrician, there weren't any jobs, but he would come and hang out with us while he was still job hunting and, go evangelism, and he was very gracious, and somehow by the grace of God, understood our not awesome French as we were still learning. And so he would go with us, and we just kind of picked him up and joined our team. And so he's now married, and he and his wife have 2 little girls, and they're wonderful, and we're so happy to have him on our team. So he does a lot of evangelism with us, some of the chaplaincy training, and then also with some of the pastoral like theology classes, he'll jump in with those as well.
So the support that we give for him, how much is that his full support for, or part of it, or what?
We split it between him and Ogla. Ogla's another gal. She was one of my first French tutors when I was in Congo. She's super involved with kids ministry and evangelism, and just love having her around. So she's an amazing part of the team where she will go places that, I'll say this. She loves to dress up. Congolese love fancy shoes and sparkly outfits and whatever. So Ogla will get on these motorcycles, and she'll be having like her cute little outfit, and she's got like her shoes and the whole shebang. And I told her, I was like, I have no idea how you do this because I can barely manage in jeans. And then I'll put like a wraparound like fabric skirt. But I was like, as long as you can keep up with me, you can wear anything that you want. And she'll come in these cute little outfits and skirts and sparkles and whatever. She's amazing. She's never complained. She's there. She shows up all the time, and we love her so much.
So we support 2 different Congolese missionaries,
Yes.
and that is 100% of their income, roughly, or?
Yes, it is 100% of their income, and then I add a little bit extra for like their fuel and motorcycle maintenance and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you guys. It's a huge blessing to have Ogla and Fulgence be part of our team.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, maybe around your tables, I would like you to spend some time praying for Julie and her ministry with Overland Missions. Your support, personally, how's it doing?
Doing good. We just had to like up it a tiny bit because of inflation, so we did that in January. But the other thing we're looking for is one-time donations for some of the new ministry opportunities with the chaplaincy program and going into the area on the lake. It is quite a bit further away from where we're normally stationed at, and so because it's not just that the 4x4 road is so bad, but there's a lot of bandits and stuff on the road, so it's not safe to drive. So we're having to fly what would be like a 3-day drive on a 4x4 road with bandits is probably not best for me to drive on right now. And so until that changes, we have to fly a domestic flight, and that's $450 every time we go in there for ministry. So, but the Lord always provides, so yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, you've heard a little bit from Julie. Pray around your tables. When you're done praying, then we'll be dismissed this evening. You can help throw garbage away in the garbage cans and grab, obviously, your food and take it home with you. We're leaving the tables and chairs set up as they are for tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we're going to Zoom some of our missionaries, different places, and so that we'll be able to pray around tables tomorrow night, and that's at 6:30 if you want to join us tomorrow evening. So pray, yes. You can follow Julie on Facebook. What's the best way to keep track of your...
There are testimonies and fun updates on social media. If you come and find me or put my name in, or I do have a prayer card, or if you want to go on a short-term team, talk to Sean, or I have updates for that.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So pray around your tables. When you're done praying, you are dismissed. And thank you for coming tonight.